Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Saturday, the 11th of March, 2023. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Appropriate.
And Robert Kemp.
I know, it's a week late, that one, isn't it? I should use
like
that
3 or 4 weeks late, technically. But
was it one or two podcasts, though?
2 by now.
Oh,
right?
2 podcasts. Yeah, I suppose you're right.
Because we had the one where we had first got to talk about Rob being tired, and then the more normal podcast.
Yeah, more normal. The recovery cast.
How will this one be?
I mean,
How tired are you now?
I'm mostly sane today.
Mostly sane?
Yeah, that's not what you asked, but I'm mostly I'm mostly awake. Because I've just developed. It's quite bad, but I've just developed the ability to sleep through whatever happens at night.
Well, I mean,
so it's
slightly advantageous, I guess.
So yeah, I'm now entirely at the hands of Gnome waking me up if she wants to at night to assist, which she's been being very lovely and not
doing.
So I'm sleeping pretty well.
Okay, because you've developed a tolerance to baby sounds.
Yeah, seemingly.
I thought it was an evolutionary thing to be woken up by.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it does do weird things to my right ear when he really goes for it. My right ear sort of fuzzes, but then so does he.
That's just loud noises.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily anything to do with babies specifically.
I think my right ear's been a bit dodgy for a long time, actually. Probably since that time I had a shower and got water in it and then was deaf in that ear for 2 months.
That thing that happened.
Never get water in your ear. It's bad.
That we've talked about on this podcast even.
I mean, it's mostly fine. It's fine almost all the time, but I think I have lost some a tiny bit of high frequency response in there. So when I'm doing music mixing, I'm pretty sure things sound different out of my right ear to my left ear.
Yeah.
Just a touch.
You need to mirror your channels to make sure.
Yeah, I do that. I swap it over and just to make sure it's not me going mad. Because for the longest time, I thought I'd got the speakers wrong in here. And I was just well, that can't be right. That sounds different. Well, that can't be right. And then no, it's me, unfortunately.
It's a classic art maneuver. Mirror your thing. The drawing, that happens a lot as well. You mirror it, and then you're like, Jesus Christ, this is terrible. It's you don't realise when you're doing it one way round how bad it looks the other way round.
I've heard of the thing where some artists will flip their picture upside down and paint it that way for a while.
I'm not sure or how that helps exactly.
Yeah,
that's quite different.
I mean, I guess it would help with following curved lines in the other direction from your normal hand motion. And then when you flip it upside down, you can do them easier that way.
Or is it just a way of getting a weird starting point that when you flip it the right way up, you're just oh yeah, that's actually pretty cool. I'll keep that.
Well, there are
is it a happy accident
like that? The old classic version of that of being invert the color, draw in inverted colours and then uninvert it halfway through and then go from there.
Yeah.
Oh man!
Just try and guess what colour you're using, basically.
Or what the current trend of doing neon backing on your painting and then sort of paint over, so you get these little dribs of neon, just colour popping through whatever you were supposed to be painting. That happens quite a bit. We watch quite a lot of landscape artist of the year and portrait artist of the year on Sky Arts. So that seems to be quite a common thing. Use a neon backing to give your painting some pop where you leave holes.
What about UV? Anyone done a blacklight painting yet?
Neon
I don't know if anyone's done a full blacklight. There's definitely been paintings on black.
That's not the same.
But yeah, it's not the same.
So they with a neon paint as a base.
Yeah, they'll use an acid green or a hot pink seems to be quite common. They'll use a hot pink and then they'll paint a fairly mundane picture over the top, but there'll be these little gaps where they haven't filled in, and it's so you end up with these little colour
on purpose.
On purpose, random colour pops.
Cool. I think. Cool. Yeah, it's going to say cool.
You'd have to see it.
I mean, it kind of works, but I think it's a bit of a crutch. I see it quite a lot.
Right.
A lot of things that people do on rapid art programs are crutches.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Understandable.
So anyway, my ear.
Anyway,
I notice it most on Teams calls, actually. There's just a certain frequency, I think, of the human voice that sometimes comes through on a Teams call that just makes my right ear. It feels like it's sort of being sucked, is what it's like. It's like the ear sort of goes...
Great.
It's kind of weird. And it goes deaf for like momentarily. It's like something, like maybe something in my ear is moving, like a muscle that's moving, and it causes, like, blocks it or something for a moment. It's weird.
I mean,
anyway, the baby
Teams
screen
definitely
does that.
sucks, so I'm not surprised you hear a sucking sound whenever you're using that.
Yeah, it's probably some specific frequency that just triggers a reflex in my ear or something, and then that happens.
Speaking of that kind of thing, because I was talking to Rob last night when we were playing Derg.
Derg!
Like, my Discord has been acting real weird, and I assume it must be me, because I'd only ever... This was the first time I'd been on with Rob for a while on Discord, because we usually use, like, Mumble, because we're super old school.
Yeah, boy.
But, like, Discord has been doing this weird thing where it, like buffers the voices. Like, so if you're looking at the window, you can see people's icon lighting up like they're transmitting, but nothing comes out. And then after some random amount of time, or sometimes when I start sending, like when I talk, suddenly you just hear what they said like minutes ago.
It'll catch it. Oh, that's weird.
Wow, that is weird.
And I can't work out what the fuck is doing that. I
mean, is that just like there's some sort of, like, that is extreme packet latency reaching your PC, and then it just doesn't filter out the old stuff and just goes...
But it's weird that it, like, remembers it for that long.
Yeah, that is odd.
Especially because it's not just, like, a random snippet, it's like a whole sentence gets through before it, like,
And has it been
realizes.
Sped up in order to...
it's just normal.
Oh, really? It just plays back...
Yeah, it just plays back normally. Like, we noticed it first when we were playing Minecraft, because there's a lot of time where we just don't really say anything because there's not much to talk about most of the time. But so when we're both not talking, it's just silence. And then, so there was one time when someone died, they respawned next to me, neither of us said anything, or I thought neither of us said anything, because I didn't say anything, and then, like, 5 minutes later, when I actually said something, what they said when they died suddenly came through.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
It was like, what the fuck is going on?
I mean, that's not like... I mean, I guess it's Java Minecraft, right? So, like, it's not like it's excess CPU load on your system that's just...
It could be on Java Minecraft.
Just jamming its audio buffer up?
I don't think it's never done that before on Derg.
Yeah.
From the other times we played Derg. Or maybe it has. Maybe we've just never had that exact thing happen.
I mean, I guess we haven't played Derg on Discord all that much.
No. And, like, maybe we were talking less than usual last night on the Discord channel, I guess.
No, we were talking quite a lot.
Well,
I was
there was
talking
a bit
quite
of a pause there.
Yeah.
For sure. Or maybe I was talking less, because it seems, as I said, like, me starting to talk seems to be the trigger.
Yeah.
Because it to weirdly catch up.
I mean, weird, because I thought I was talking to Ben on the Discord, like, near constantly.
Well, that's one of the times where I noticed it, where I just, like, no one said anything for a while. It was that bit where, talking about Derg now, I guess, but that bit where we came into that huge cave and you guys just died, and then I had to, like, grapple my way around the cave for, like, 5 minutes to try and clear enough stuff out to res anyone.
Right. No, I'm pretty sure we were talking.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
I noticed afterwards, because when it caught up, I was like, oh, that happened again.
No.
But I wasn't saying anything, because I was concentrating on what the fuck I was doing.
It was quite a nasty little mission, that.
But yeah, I don't know what the fuck's up with it. And it seems to have started doing it recently, and that's the worst possible thing. Because it's like, how recently and what the fuck triggered it? The only thing that I've done recently is, I guess, fucked around with the Java installs, but I'm pretty sure Discord probably doesn't care about Java. Probably.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so.
No.
Well, that is odd.
Yep, and very annoying.
I mean, Discord just did its usual thing of not liking my headsets until I, like, turned the headset settings off and on again.
I mean, maybe I need to... This would probably be bad for several other reasons, but maybe I need to do what we do on TeamSpeak and go into for the podcast and just turn it on always transmit. Can you even turn on always transmit in Discord?
I don't know that you can. No, I think it's
have
always
push to talk.
You can have push to talk
and
or
voice activation.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe you can turn voice activation way down so it just picks up background noise a bit and keeps it constantly active.
Perhaps, or you can macro.
I'm sure people won't like that.
You can use hotkey to just like have it or just hold a push to talk button.
That's probably bad too.
I mean, I don't know. Discord's generally pretty good though.
Usually,
and its audio quality is actually reasonable. So if TeamSpeak one day would ever start failing us, because it is our preferred audio quality transmission.
Can it possibly start failing us since we never update most of the time?
I know I have to update the server. Like, I actually have to update the server every now and then because that's how their licensing stops it working.
Well, yeah, I guess.
I installed it on my new Mac, which I haven't tried yet. I'll do that next time.
TeamSpeak?
TeamSpeak.
Yeah.
And that bug that causes it to crash when you join a server is still there. So you still have to be on the beta channel on Mac OS for some reason.
Weird.
It's really annoying. Oh, well, never mind.
I don't care about Mac TeamSpeak that much.
No, I mean, it works once you have that.
Yeah.
With that bug fix. It's just for some reason that bug fix hasn't been shipped to the stable channel in how long?
Yeah,
a long time.
Long time.
2 years, at least, right? Yeah. Oh, well.
Pretty bad bug to have for that long.
Yeah.
But who cares about TeamSpeak?
Well,
who cares about any of these ancient?
Why do you use Rumble
channels
instead of TeamSpeak?
I don't actually know at this. Well, it was quite at the time when we first started using it. It was a pretty low weight on the CPU, and the quality was good.
That was the main thing. It was just like a really tiny thing to run in the background.
Yeah,
because running Discord, that thing's just bulky.
It is pretty bulky.
It's a full-on Electron app, isn't it?
Yeah. It uses quite a chunk of especially if you accidentally got a chat window and there happens to be a GIF in it, then it's actually churned.
You can see it affecting the CPU.
Yeah.
Yuck.
I need a low profile Discord. I wonder if anyone's. I guess it's not open source or anything, so it's you can't get someone to just make that.
No,
make a stripped down version.
No.
I mean, it has some. Don't get me wrong. Discord's pretty cool, and it has some pretty cool features, and the ability to just to request a stream from someone who's playing a game, a bit like Steam does, and you can just stream just to the chat channel on Discord rather than publicly, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, got a lot of features, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't stream particularly well, so we couldn't use it for twitchiness or anything like that. It's not that quality, but.
I think
it's not bad.
People use Discord just instead of Teams or Slack as a free to run their business.
Yeah, I can see that. Because it has got quite a lot of you can set up your own channels and your own
channels
rooms
and everything. Yeah,
subtopics within those rooms. Yeah, it's quite full featured.
Does that have replies to? I haven't used it much to threads because Slack has that where it.
Oh right. Yeah, I don't know that it does.
That's quite a key feature, I think, in Slack.
I mean, Teams sort of has that stuff if you're using if you're talking to someone or if you're using a meeting channel. I think you actually have to have set up Teams sections effectively, and then you can start threads within those teams.
Yeah. Oh God,
which our team never does.
No, it's too much effort.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. That's the
Discord.
State of affairs with games comms.
Our voice comms, yeah. I can't remember the last time I used Steam Chat. I think I used that with the Cambridge crew once.
It's how good is it now? Because we haven't used it in forever.
I think it's
Has
okay.
it changed at all?
I think it's okay from the last time I used it.
Voice.
Yeah, Steam's voice. I seem to remember the problem with it. The reason why we didn't use it when it first came about was just because of how unstable it was.
Yeah.
It was just constantly disconnecting and failing. But I'd imagine that's not a thing now. And I can't remember it being a thing the last couple of times I've used it. So maybe Steam Chat's all right now.
Maybe. But who would use that?
I bet most people, honestly. It's just us weirdos.
I was thinking, somehow this thought came to my head again about Left 4 Dead 2, about it's that one thing that I always mention about it, where its in-game voice was affected by the weather in the levels. It deliberately obscures your voice when it's windy.
Oh, right.
If you're using the in-game chat.
Oh,
and I was like, well, nowadays you could actually have that by use the rich presence system to do that, right? You could actually you could even transmit that to Discord and have Discord do it.
Oh, I see. If Discord had a set of categories, I guess, for
manipulating the sound. You could link it into the Steam's rich presence thing because Discord could already pick that stuff up.
I mean, that'd be kind of rad.
So it's like now there's a modern way to do that doesn't rely on people using the in-game voice channel.
Or is it like a slight evolution of like, how TeamSpeak was doing positional audio for a while?
Yeah. I mean, this is like you could theoretically quite easily get positional audio, I would say, through just the rich presence stuff. You just have to have it transmit it out and then have the program pick it up and know what to do with that.
Game has to integrate with it properly, which was always what held back.
Well, I mean,
some of this stuff.
I mean, obviously, but then, like, I mean, at this point, people still barely integrate the actual rich presence, like just text. Sure. So maybe asking for like having an audio modifier is a bit much, but it's an option I can see happening in the future, which would be cool, and would also be like optional because you could just be like if you're using Discord or something, you could make it so that it only does it if you like name your sub channel correctly or something. Like if you use a normal Discord channel, then it doesn't. But if you give it a certain name, so that the program recognizes that it's allowed to do it, so you could basically choose whether to have it happen or not.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice for that stuff to be a bit more standard because, like, honestly, I believe like the best way to play Among Us is by using that
proximity chat.
Yeah, using that plugin that basically allows you to still voice chat, but within the rules of Among Us. So, like, proximity chat, and when you're dead, no one can hear you.
And the ghost channel, basically.
And the haunting, the haunting's fun. Well, the haunting is nearly inconsequential, but it is hilarious when you sort of just hear it because it's so subtle.
Yeah,
like so just to make sure you can't make out any words, but it's pretty funny. That would be nice if that stuff was more because like OG Xbox used to be able to do some of that.
Yeah,
I think because like the control developers had over how voice worked over original Xbox Live was pretty much in their hands, not in Xbox Live's hands.
Yeah.
Do you remember like that? You just think like what game has done the Halo system since Halo? Like where you could hear people in the map if they were talking.
Yeah. I like the idea of that stuff. Maybe that'll go in with VR or something. I don't know.
I guess.
Well, I mean, I would assume it's kind of important for VR, like VR chat and whatnot. I bet that has it all built in for its in-game chat. But
yeah.
I guess what we're talking about, like exporting it to an external program, essentially on PC.
The underage Call of Duty player probably ruined that for everyone, though. No one wants to engage with that stuff or develop for that stuff. Because what's the other one I'm thinking of? Chromehounds had a really fun...
As you would imagine.
Yeah, Chromehounds had a great implementation of it because like a key part of that game were comms towers. And you could destroy those to disrupt the voice chat. So the players on that team couldn't talk to each other. It's wicked. Obviously, people cheated and got around that and used Discord to do it, and other services. So it was, but as in concept, that's so cool.
Yeah, or like jamming people's communications and stuff. That'd be cool.
That's pretty nice. But yeah, just things you can't actually achieve in the real world because tech. Which is a shame.
Unless you're
allowed like an RP server or something.
Well, sure. Or unless like Windows gets really unsecurely liberal about accessing like the actual system, like directly affecting your audio through the Windows layer. Just skip all any other programs, just fuck you up directly.
Just go direct.
Hit the DLLs.
Word of the day: unsecurely.
Yep.
I like that one. What else is going on?
What in news?
Oh, just general life.
Just looking at your mechanical keyboard, and I remember that I have mechanical keyboard update from which probably maybe one of the nerdiest things I've ever done.
For all the keyboard pervs out there.
Yeah, it's this whole insane hobby, which I didn't know when I started to get into it. But yeah, I got for Christmas I got a mechanical keyboard that's split because I need it for my RSI basically. But it's one that it's called an Alice layout, which means it uses normal keys, but they're just in that layout. So that means
right, a bit like the old the wavy. Do you remember the old wavy Microsoft keyboards?
But that one has specially shaped keys to make it all right. And I had pre-mechanical keyboards. I had the Microsoft Sculpt one and the Logitech one, and they're good and everything, but they're just they're not mechanical. So I wanted that. So, and luckily it worked out well. So I'm pleased with it. But what I did was, looking vaguely into this weird hobby, I was like, okay, I guess I'm trying different switches.
Oh,
so I actually
wow.
got like a set of. So because I got it with browns on, like
cherry browns.
They're not actually cherry browns, but they're the equivalent from like Gatoron or whatever.
Okay,
there's the ones that came with it. They're equivalent, and browns because that was just the obvious one, right? That's the tactile one. Reds are the linear ones for gaming, and blues are the super clacky ones. The classic ones. And
I can't remember what the razors are equivalent to.
Right.
Because I think they're more akin to a brown than a red.
They're probably more
but
browns.
They're quite clacky.
Yeah. But I got some Holy Pandas. Oh, yeah.
Holy Pandas.
Holy Pandas. What a great name. Yeah. But I was like, I didn't do much research because obviously it's this insane hobby. And there's all these YouTubers. But, of course, because of that, they do not come pre-lubed. So you have to lube your switches if you want to lube. So I spent like 3 hours fucking lubing my switches, which is hilarious. You literally have to get a kit with like brushes and like specialized lube and keyboard lube for the switches. And you have to take every single switch apart. And you have, I got in the kit came with a little thing that makes it easier to pull apart, although not that easy, honestly. And then you have a different kind of lubricant or oil for the springs.
Okay.
So I took every single one. There's 70 of them. I took every single one apart, and I watched one YouTube video because I couldn't be bothered to go deep into it. That guy, I think it was a guy, put every spring into a pot and then used the oil to shake the oil around the thing. So I was like, okay, I'll do that.
Like oiling up chicken bits before you crumb them.
So that meant, and then you use the brushes to put the lube on like the inside of the different parts of the switch or whatever, and it's like, I had to do that for like 70 switches.
Jeez.
Do the thing, and then like pulling the existing switches out of the keyboard is actually really annoying because they have like proper metal contacts.
Did it give you like a tool for it?
Yeah, but it was a piece of crap, the tool that I had. Yeah, it was basically just 2 bits of wire. Like it fell apart. Like it was held together with plastic. It like broke while I was trying, because you have to really pull them out because they're like pins, basically 2 pins. And you don't want to break the keyboard itself, but I managed to get them out and in, and after all that, it's pretty good. It's like, I like it. I mean, obviously the whole point of it is it's totally subjective.
Sure.
But the Holy Pandas are much nicer than my Gatoron Browns. For me, anyway. I like them. It's like genuinely like quite a lot nicer.
And they have a great name.
Yeah, it's a great name because apparently the Holy Panda was a community creation. There's drama. So some guy who was an enthusiast, he took the housing from one kind of switch and the travel from another and combined them. One of them was a panda type switch and one of them was Holy Grail or something, and created the Holy Panda as like a mod, and then people would have to get full sets of both and combine them to create the Holy Panda.
So they just made it a brand.
Well, some company got the rights to, because you needed the tooling to create the parts to put both parts, and so there's a bit of controversy. Like one lot, I think I got them from somewhere called Drop, which make them, but one lot make them, and then there's another company who are making quote unquote glorious pandas or whatever, and they're in competition because one of them's got the tooling for one half and one of them's got the other tooling, and they're fighting over the stupid name because it's such a good name, Holy Panda. So I think the ones I got are the guys that have the name, or at least they sold it under that name. But anyway, it's literally just 2 pieces of plastic and a spring, right? There's not that much to it, but apparently if you go down this rabbit hole, it's like a massive deal.
Keyboard pervs, they're another breed.
It's mental, but I'm even though it was stupid, and I stupidly started doing it because I'd got them, they arrived in the post, and I finished work and had food or whatever, and I was like, maybe I'll give it a try. Started at like 9 p.m. and I was there. I was there until like 2 in the morning trying to get my keyboard put together. But anyway,
I think I would have lost my patience.
Yeah. It's just because I got so far, and I was like,
I've got to finish this.
Might as well finish it. And also, when your keyboard's falling apart, you can't use it. So But yeah,
I keep getting adverts.
It's good.
For there seems to be like a new wave of like Kickstarter projects or GoFundMe project or Indiegogo keyboards that are transparent.
Okay.
So like I forget what they're all called. I've seen like 3 different ones, but the last one was like, it was actually, they were mechanical keys but made out of transparent plastic and made in such a way that they didn't have very much footprint. But basically, the underside of this keyboard was a laptop.
Wow!
Like a full, just a screen with its own CPU and dedicated GPU for driving things on this screen. So basically, their video was kind of lame because it was just showing like what was clearly like they were just playing back videos on this thing, and it's like, that's not what I'm interested in. It's like I'm interested in like keys that do crazy shit when you type on them, or like and make effects
ripples
and things and ripples and stuff, and or just show me what the key is and hotkeys in that way, like the old Optimus used to, and things like that. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
It's like, who's going to want to watch a video underneath their keyboard? That's like that is another level of madness that even.
Oh yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my RGB keyboard. It's stupid. I get it.
Yeah.
But I like it. Especially when games actually support the Razer shit and it works. It's like that's pretty great. I like that. But it's, I don't want to be looking at a video like it's on my keyboard.
No.
Like,
That's another world.
It just seems utterly pointless. But it's the fact that I haven't just seen one of these. There's at least 3 of them popping up, and they're all trying to do that similar thing. And it's, I don't get it.
No, but that's a different side. Like the people who are into like the feel of the switches aren't the people who are into
no.
That's
a very different
effects.
thing. Yeah,
like my one does have RGB, but the keycaps don't have the cutout transparent letters, so it doesn't leak through. So they
glow around the key.
Yeah, it's crap. I just immediately turned it off. I think most people do. It's just there just as an added feature or whatever, but I don't use it at all. But yeah, there's some people are really into the like crazy.
I do like having some light on my keyboard now, like especially that one where it's black keys. It's like you kind of need a bit of light to be able to see what's going on.
I mean, that looks nice.
It's just because of the design. It's a Chroma X, I think a Razer Chroma X, I think, for those listening. And it's where you turn the light off, you can't actually see what's written on the keys, which is the problem. So you kind of need it on, and like just because of its design, whatever. But I do like so when we play Derg, for instance, and it's at night or whatever, I tend to run Hue Station to sync my lights in this room to what's on screen.
Yeah.
And so it can get pretty dark at times. So it's nice having lights on the keyboard so I can actually see what I'm doing. I'm into it. That's as far as my like. I don't really understand these people that put like ridiculous amounts of RGB in their PC. I kind of draw a line at that a little bit. Yeah. It's quite funny because we've got some of the PCs at work. Like IT just bought like RGB fans for them because they were cheaper than getting just standard ass fans. So some people with their new workstations just have this ridiculous glowy fan going on.
That's so silly.
This is a professional business, guys.
So pro. There you go.
It just doesn't. It doesn't seem to make much sense unless like me, you have your PC literally on your desk where you would be able to see it. Yeah. Except in my case, the side that would be transparent faces the wall.
Yeah.
Which people do, but I value my desk space.
On this huge desk, which is
filled with exactly. That's why I value my desk space, because
you could easily fit your PC at that end if you just shove the speaker in slightly.
But then the speaker's not it's not balanced then in the room, and it's like
just change the volume on the speaker.
No. It's this room is symmetrical. It's
indeed,
sort of.
So yeah. Recommend.
Half the reason I got this desk, because there's enough room to actually fit my giant fuck off case. That also is important.
I mean, that thing is just stupid.
It is stupid.
It's the stupidest PC case I've ever seen.
It's far too big.
It's massive.
I'm not going to argue. It's far too big. It has been quite practical though.
Oh yeah. Fit some stuff in there.
I think I can't even remember what it is. I think it's a thermal tech of some case. Thermaltake, or however you pronounce it.
Like I put stuff on top of my PC case, and like nowadays they have fans all in the roof of them. Almost all of them do.
Yeah, this one does.
Yeah, so I can't do. Doesn't work.
I have to put things on top of my PC specifically to stop the vibration that makes it make a loud noise because of that top fan.
Right, yeah. I mean,
so I just have like a tin of silly putty leant up against it on top of the PC, which muffles the vibration just enough, but doesn't put too much weight on it.
Precise.
I mean, this case has been good for me because, like, I can't be faffed with proper cable management, and so there's just enough room to just chuck cable in wherever. And also, I've got like 6 hard drives in this thing. There's plenty of room for them all. Admittedly, most of them are SSDs now, but still, like, you just need room to mount all that stuff. PCs. I've been getting the upgrade itch.
Oh my god.
So it's your fault, Zach, because you mentioned it a few weeks back.
Yeah, and I still haven't got around to that yet. I did buy a new mouse because my previous one died, and that was like... I was so annoyed about that because I was like, oh, if only I could have done this at the same time as getting a new PC. Because you don't want to, like, randomly upgrade a part.
No, you want that feeling of freshness.
Everything being new.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm even going to get a new keyboard. I mean, like, I like my old keyboard too much.
That's fine.
If it works, then, yeah, don't change it. There's no need.
I mean, it'd be nice to get a new one, but I don't, like... Do they even do keyboards with little LCD screens on them any longer?
Oh, what,
that one.
The old Logitech one.
No,
yeah,
I don't think they do.
That's the most important thing to me, that little tiny screen that gives me extra information.
You could probably get something from Stream Deck.
Yeah,
there was that, yes.
You'd have to get some, and if it doesn't do what you want it to do, it's relatively easy to write plugins for.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, when the mouse was first starting to die, which I hadn't determined was like an actual physical problem yet, I was reinstalling drivers instead at that time. And I reinstalled all the Logitech driver. Well, it's not really the drivers, it's like the support program or whatever, which I guess includes the drivers. But then when I put the new version of that on, one of the applications for the LCD screen stopped working for some reason. So I had to, and so then I was like looking around to see if I could get an old version of it or something to make it work again. But then it's just like, oh, there's just some guy had programmed his own one, which had actually more features than the Logitech one. So you can install this instead.
Oh, that's cool.
But so now it's just like, I've got this random extra screen that it's just made by some guy, and it's just like, oh, this has all like little CPU indicators, and like you can even like, it actually uses the 4 buttons that no one ever, not even the actual Logitech ones really ever used, but it uses them to like, you can, there's like 4 boxes along the bottom that you can toggle different information into by like, oh, you can see like what time is it in Europe, and like and what's my internet doing right now, what's the upstream data rate.
That's kind of neat. I like that.
But yeah, and then when I plugged in I was like, when I plug this new mouse in, is this am I going to have to update this again, or is it just going to recognize it? Like how new is this software compared to this mouse? And it did just recognize it, so it was fine. And then I was like, oh look, I can just turn the brightness of this goddamn blue glow down quite a lot. Don't need that. Also, it doesn't match because my keyboard's orange. Because it's that old.
It's orange? I thought that Logitech was like black.
I know it's black, but the lights are orange.
The lights are orange.
I think we had multiple versions because I had one that was blue for sure.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, sure.
Oh, do you mean the backlight to the screen is orange?
Well, yes, and the keys.
And the keys. Huh. I don't remember that.
That keyboard was massive though.
It was pretty chunky.
I mean, it's not much larger than a regular keyboard. It has like an extra 2 lines of macro buttons at the side that I've literally never used.
Oh, right, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because it has a full set of macro buttons, like 3 wide on the left and a full numpad on the right, and then the screen at the back.
Yeah.
I
mean, the screen doesn't make that much difference.
No,
it's just
it just pops up. Yeah.
And it has those 2 completely useless USB ports on the back, where who's going to chain things through their keyboard? Nope.
Oh, yeah. Definitely don't use
I mean,
that.
it'd be really nice if I could chain my Stream Deck through like a hub, but that doesn't work apparently. The Stream Deck has to be plugged directly into
Oh, really?
the PC.
My one's on the hub on the Mac, but it's quite a fancy. It's the very fancy hub. Although there's probably a new version. Very expensive hub, the TS.
Yeah, I've tried plugging it into my switcher hub, and that just it will eventually the Stream Deck just locks, and it's like, well, this isn't working. Stream Deck. I need to sort out my USB situation.
Then you've been saying that for like 5 years.
I know. USB is such a problem for me. Like, it's just so many gubbins that need to plug into so many other things, but then I also need to change where those things are plugged in relatively frequently. There's no good solution for it other than just the best solution is just unplug and replug, but that means cables everywhere. Don't look under my desk.
Don't look under any technology in this house, basically.
It all works. It's just, but yeah, it's not organised. Shout out to Linus Tech Tips for doing a video recently on like media cabinets under TVs and the fact that they all suck. Right, yeah. And it's like, I 100% agree with you. Yeah. And not 100% I agree with your solution that you built, like, but the magnetic board at the back that lets you do cable management just by sticking things to the back of the cabinet. Chef's kiss.
Okay.
That's a great idea.
That is a pretty obvious product idea, isn't it?
Yes.
Decent media stand.
Well, they all suck. They all universally suck. Unless you want one that's a bit like mine and doesn't have any doors or edges.
Well, it's not really a cabinet.
But then and then it's not a cabinet. And
it's not a table.
Not particularly wife approved, you know.
Well, I mean, it still matches your coffee table.
I mean, true. And the end tables. But yeah.
As long as you've got at least 2 or 3 things in a room that match.
Yeah. I mean, they're all going to change at some point. We've
at some point.
Yeah, like the last decade or so, Gnome has been like, these are not aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah. But, this is true.
And I kind of agree, but they are super practical. They will murder a baby, though.
Maybe.
I mean, they're like nothing but edge.
Well, that's true.
Class edge, yeah.
Just get some padding.
Pad everything.
I think it's time.
No, just get some padding and wrap the baby in it permanently. You know, proper bubble suit.
I mean, we did have the first time I went to work upstairs at the charity shop. We had like health and safety violations because their ceiling is low enough that there's just like a massive I-beam that goes across the room that's like right at my head height.
Oh wow!
so now there's like a big chunk of foam and some like warning tape on it for me, basically.
Nice.
And I still hit my head on it all the time because I keep forgetting it's there.
Do you find something comical about my appearance? This is the largest automobile that I could afford. It's super tall.
Good old Simpsons. I'm sure I had many other tales to regale, but I've lost them all because my brain is addled.
So you're not as untired as you thought you were?
I guess not. Well, I mean, my memory still sucks. I think that's what it is, mostly.
Well, should we talk about video games then?
I guess.
Talk about news.
What's going on?
News. Hey guys. Do you want to know what Square Enix think about Forspoken sales figures?
The same thing that they always think about all sales figures.
They were disappointed.
Yep. Although in this case, probably actually for real.
I mean,
not overhyping expectations. I think it just sucked.
There is a minor difference about this story this time, and that is, well, the Luminous Studios are Japanese, right? Like it's quite a westernized game, but like Square Enix usually threw this beef at their Western studios that they got rid of.
Well, apparently they're getting rid of this one.
They're getting rid of Luminous.
Apparently.
Oh boy. Okay. Square permanently unhappy.
Although on the plus side, they are also maybe getting rid of their ridiculous CEO who is obsessed with NFTs.
Oh, are they getting rid of him? Because I thought he just literally like had another post to say like we're super happy about we're super excited about NFT games.
I heard that he was going out. I also heard that the YouTube is getting a new CEO who also likes NFTs. So get ready for YouTube NFTs.
Oh no.
Well, to be honest, like, how much effect does anyone at YouTube have on actual YouTube? Not much. Does anything ever change on YouTube, really?
Well, they definitely push for short form content pretty aggressively.
And I'm still hiding that shelf every 30 days as soon as it shows up.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Oh, yeah, that thing. Right. the sort of TikTok composite
stuff.
Reels, is it?
Shorts.
Oh, Shorts. Who's his Reels? Is that Facebook?
Probably.
I thought I saw on BBC News yesterday that Meta are going to make a Twitter clone or whatever. It's all going around.
What?
Because obviously Twitter's going to crash now because
Yeah,
it started happening. So it's going to fall over. So they might be there to like pick up the...
I haven't noticed, like, Twitter's still been working for me. I don't know.
Freaking slow to load now. Noticeably slower than it used to be.
Oh, yes. No, okay. I have noticed that. Like, basically, I load up the app and it doesn't load it doesn't update, basically. It doesn't refresh.
Yeah.
It will say there's new stuff. So I'll press the button, the house button or whatever it is, and nothing will happen.
Yeah.
It will take me to the top of the old feed that I had information for, and like eventually a refresh will happen.
It's great. I think it's basically unmaintained because they fired everyone. So it's like gradually, slowly falling apart.
Like any software project, why does it do that?
Yeah, well, that's software in reality. It doesn't make sense.
Software in reality, they had humans pruning shit constantly.
Yeah. That's
because
why
it wasn't
they say
that well designed, I guess.
Well, no, well, then nothing is, right? It's only designed well enough to do as well as it does, right? And yeah, they say engineering's a bad analogy for software development.
Absolutely,
it's much more like gardening.
Yeah,
and if you fire all the gardeners, then you know what's going to happen to the garden.
It's frustrating because, like, the engineering part of software engineering has only ever really referred to the process, not what you're actually making.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
It's not engineering.
Not like a bridge. No,
it's not engineering in the traditional sense. No. I mean, I guess it depends on what you're making. If you're making like a math-heavy program, then maybe there's some amount of actual engineering and rules and blah, 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 blah. But
I mean, building an actual data center is engineering. But that's like building physical infrastructure.
To an extent, yeah.
Does that fall under software engineering, though?
No.
It's not software. It's hardware engineering.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not even... Oh, I need to turn off the... That's the baby monitor alarm.
Right. Quite a subtle, natural sounding.
That's probably why you don't wake up.
Yeah. Anyone could have assumed we were just in
a bird outside your window.
Yeah. Talking about the bird website. So.
The bird.
Yeah. But yeah.
The baby has remotely flipped the bird in its script.
YouTube still works.
For now.
That's one thing you could say about YouTube. It's freaking amazing engineering. The fact that those videos start instantly in bad situations.
Yeah.
It almost never has issues.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I've had a real, like, actual connectivity or, like, just functional problem with YouTube.
Well, the functional problem that I have, which is not a failure. It's just how it's designed because of like bandwidth or whatever. It's like if you're watching a video with a low number of views, like for example our ones,
yeah,
you can't really tab out of those because it doesn't keyframe them very well. So like if you tab away from a video with low numbers of views and then come back, it basically doesn't update for like 15 seconds before it realizes.
Yeah,
gotcha.
The sound continues, but the video doesn't update.
Yeah.
I mean
that's fair enough.
That's a good optimization, actually, that it's not trying to run when it knows it's not being viewed.
But that, like I said, that happens on lower viewed videos. It's like as soon as you go like from the big videos, it's perfectly fine. You can have back and forwards as much as you want. But as soon as you reach a certain level of smallness, it's like, oh, yep, that doesn't buffer.
Fair enough.
But that makes sense. So yeah, that's not really a failing. That's just a logical bandwidth conservation thing.
Yeah, it's a balancing choice.
It still works. Yeah,
it's fine if you only need to hear the sound.
In other news,
Suicide
Squad has been delayed only by a little bit.
Yeah, but not enough to fix it, probably.
Probably,
or not enough to do what people would like them to do to it.
Yeah. So, this isn't official yet, but it is reportedly getting delayed. And reportedly, as a result of the reaction to their gameplay footage from the Sony State of Play that we talked about last podcast.
Yeah.
And it's... sure, take the time, spruce it up a little bit. The problem is that, like, the reaction is probably not about how that game looked, because I don't know that its quality level was bad, right? It's like the problem is just it's probably a loot shooter, it's a live service game, and like.
But it did look like there wasn't enough difference between the characters.
Everyone can fly for some reason.
So
and jump madly, and it's all about guns and not melee, which is a bit weird for Shark Guy, right? And it's I mean, I can see it because it's like it's just not that interesting a pitch anymore. No, it's another one of those, and whilst it's probably going to be quite a good one of those. The fact is the phrase "one of those" is in the mix, and that's not going to get you the reaction you want anymore. Destiny is already a thing, and Destiny is still massive. You're going to have a real hard time breaking that if that's what you're going for. Avengers flopped, right? Avengers should have been the thing to. I mean, yes, different company and all that jazz, but shouldn't that have been the thing to hold this sort of torch in this sort of space?
Well, maybe they thought they were doing something different by making it more like a loot shooter. They were the Avengers one tried to be like the characters matter and have them relative to their actual superpowers or whatever.
Because it had gear, right?
Yeah.
Avengers still had gear of some description.
But it was just upgrades to appropriate powers, whereas in this one they're more homogenized by the looks of it. And maybe they thought that was what people wanted. They were we wouldn't be able to pull it off with making them all individually, have all their individual skills or whatever. So let's make them slightly more generic and just have it a loot grind. It's no, we don't want that either.
I mean, the odd thing to me, and the question I want answered that we're not going to get answered is was this Rocksteady's call to make a game like this? Or were they forced into it by Warner Brothers? Because if it's the latter, I'm, no surprise. Absolutely none at all. Shock face does not exist. But if Rocksteady chose to do this, I find that slightly hard to believe and very confusing.
Is it the same Rocksteady that made
Is it the same Rocksteady?
Probably not. Yeah.
I mean, out of the people they showed on the State of Play, apparently most of the people that were in footage are people. At least the people they rolled out to the camera are people that have been at Rocksteady for a while. To the point that they rolled out the founder of Rocksteady, who's no longer at Rocksteady. It's slightly odd if you think. I guess they knew what they were doing. Like I said, it's probably not a bad game. It's just one of those, and that makes it instantly less interesting to me.
Suicide Squad.
The happy salad reaction to Suicide Squad is currently.
It's on my stupid fantasy league thing. I was like, it's Rocksteady. It's probably be good. Nope.
Probably going to get a normal number of points.
Yeah.
That's the standard thing for our league.
Once it gets reviewed, it's probably going to do all right.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
I think I talked about this a few, maybe in the last one, last time we talked about Advance Wars Reboot Camp eventually coming out, and I couldn't remember the name of this game. Turns out that name was Wargroove. And there's a sequel coming. They've announced there's a sequel to it coming. So if you want your actual pixel graphic Advance War fix, Wargroove's a pretty close
analog.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I enjoyed my time with it.
Advance Wars is coming out, right?
Reboot Camp is coming out. Yeah.
But it's the same old game.
Yeah, but the problem is that the Reboot Camp has ditched the pixel art look, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. That's the point. Yeah, it's gone with.
So Wargroove still has that going for it.
Okay.
It's weirdly now it's got the niche. It's got the pixel art niche locked down. And as I say, the first game was decent. So want to keep an eye on, I suppose, if you're an Advance Wars person. I mean, Zach, you should probably play Wargroove, honestly.
Maybe.
It was good. Sea Skylines 2.
Yeah.
Tell us more, Zach.
What's going on, Zach?
Well, the video is basically nothing, obviously. It's fully just CG. Here's some city views and buildings being built and shit. And
it's not CG.
Well, it could be, except also it's kind of already someone has found out that it's definitely running on Unity, and that didn't look like a Unity game to me. That looks suspiciously like a higher render quality than you can usually put out.
I mean, this is where you want that freaking Matrix demo Unreal 4.
Why is it not running on Unreal 5?
Yeah,
Unreal
exactly.
5, sorry.
Because there was some speculation, which is why I know this, where it's like there was some speculation about what engine it was running on, judging by this maybe pre-rendered video. But then it was like, no, apparently one of the developers was like, no, it's Unity. So that put paid to that.
Has it always been Unity? Or?
Yeah, the last one was. Okay. Which is, in some ways slightly worrying, because as we've discussed about playing Kerbal, it's just like, Unity has limits, it appears, and we might be running up against them at this point.
Different kind of simulation though, right?
Well,
physics versus what is essentially a stats.
But it felt like the original City Skylines was pretty much at the limit of what it could handle then. Especially if you modded it at all. It had the same problem as modding Kerbal Space Program 1, where it's like as soon as you start putting mods on it, it's just like it can't handle that much more.
Can't deal.
It's already kind of pushing the limits of what it can handle, and then you try and jam mods in it. It's like, no. Stop.
No!
But yeah, apart from that, there doesn't seem to be there's a lot of things in that trailer that you might take as being hints of possible new things coming. It shows a park and then it's snowy and then it turns into spring or whatever. And it's like, so that means seasons are going to be in the game. But does it? Don't know about that necessarily, but it would be nice. Or I think it would be nice to make things like that actually matter. Because City Skylines had snow maps where you could just play on a snowy climate, and then that had extra services like snow plows and underground heating and whatnot. So that was a thing you could do, but it was it didn't change over time. It was just this map is slightly different.
So what would you? How could you make that work? Because you're going to get those seasons. Is it the first year you play or something? You sort of start to learn statistically. Okay, this region is a bit like this. A really bad winter would be surprised, but then it's I'm in a region where the winters are really bad, so I need to. Actually...
you wouldn't have to learn that though. It would just be that would be data on the map, right? When you're selecting the map, it would be this has temperate climate, so it doesn't get super cold or hot. So you
don't need to worry about
super heavy amounts of winterization or whatever.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is how do you make is that actually a dynamic problem at that point, or is it just I just need to not worry about this on this map?
That's always been the problem of disasters in city games, where it's just if you have things that only the seasons where it's only dangerous for short periods of time, but all you do is just build another building to compensate for that. That's not really that interesting. And then disasters are also not very interesting either, because they're too destructive.
Right.
Where it's this is a full on everything stops and you have to deal with this in basically almost a separate game mode where you're just now I'm deploying police and fire. Oh, in SimCity, I don't think it did that in Skylines when they had their disasters DLC or whatever. I think in Skylines it was more automated. You just had to build the bunkers or whatever, evacuation zones, and then it just fucked up your traffic for a while. Of course. But yeah, from this video, you can't really say anything about the game, I don't think. Apart from it's coming out this year, maybe?
Oh.
They did say, 2023, but they didn't say whether it's going to be early access or not. But then some... YouTube people who are deep in the community or whatever of Skylines 1.
We're in deep.
Apparently they were invited to play the alpha 2 years ago. So potentially it might actually come out this year. This might actually be it might just be a game that just comes out. It might not be an early access thing or anything.
Wow. That would be nice. Especially for a game like this. To just drop. That would be quite nice.
Be very cool.
But even those people who were invited to play it 2 years ago, that's basically still all they can say about it. The NDAs are still... They can say they played it and it was an alpha, but they can't tell you anything about it, though.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Well, get hype. Get hype for town or city, depending on how you...
I suppose the question is how much effort has actually been put into... How much of the team was working on 2 whilst they were doing things like the consoleized version of Skylines? Because isn't the consoleized version of the original quite recent?
Well, yeah, relatively speaking. And, of course, they've still been shitting out a million DLCs in the meantime as well.
Sure, yeah.
Stick some airports in.
And it does seem that the video has like PlayStation and Xbox logos for Skylines 2, which suggests it might be simultaneous this time.
Right, yeah. Actually designed. Well, I guess the original they didn't know quite how popular
how to do that.
Yeah, and then necessarily that it was going to be a success, right? So it's like let's target a platform where it's most likely to succeed. PC makes sense, yeah. But maybe it did well on console. So now it's like, well, now we can target all of them at once. And
this will be the time to find out, like, if they're actually more capable at making this kind of game. Because obviously, like at the time when Skylines first came out, it's in that class of no one's making this, like SimCity is dead, no one's making these games any longer, so we'll make one, but we don't really progress the ideas any. It's just like a SimCity game. Whereas now it's like, okay, now we're making a fully new one, so how much more advanced is it going to be? Are we actually going to become the new Maxis?
Right. What if it's one of those games that like would support like keyboard and mouse control on Xbox?
Probably.
It's sort of an unsung feature of Series X that like keyboard and mouse is supported on that thing, but like that it seems to be a bit of a mystery as to what games actually can do that. Like, because a bit of me's now wondering, it's like, okay, because 2 Point Campus no longer fucking works on my PC.
Right.
Like, it just black screens, and it just doesn't work. So a bit of me's wondering, like, okay, I wonder if that save file has like synced to my Xbox cloud because I'm playing the Game Pass version, and then I can fire it up on the Xbox. But then I could just plug a keyboard and mouse into it and play it properly.
Arguably, you probably wouldn't need a keyboard and mouse to play 2 Point House.
I mean, it might be okay on controller, yeah.
2 Point Canvas, rather.
Yeah.
Same thing, basically.
Same thing, yeah. I don't know what's happened with that game. Like, it just doesn't run anymore.
Did you try reinstalling it?
No, because it's Windows Store, and that's a pain in the ass.
Well, there you go. Does Windows Store have a verify files thing?
I don't even 100% know if I deleted it and reinstalled it. I trust Windows Store so little that I don't know if my save game would stay.
Right. Well, can you not just like find out where it stores it and unearth it?
Maybe. The problem with Windows Store stuff is it's kind of like a walled garden, like iOS, right? Where the file structure is kind of supposed to be hidden from the likes of you and me.
But surely it just dumps it in goddamn app data, as everything does.
I mean, let's hope. It could very well be there.
I think did I mention this when I was talking about trying to get Minecraft working? The launcher that I was running was trying to put all of its data into app data. And I was like, fuck you. Mainly because my fucking C drive doesn't have any space. It can't fit 3 gigs in there.
Right. Well, Chrome does that as well, right? It installs to somewhere like that.
And then I was like, I guess I can delete these like 6 gigs of backup NVIDIA drivers that are just sitting here.
Oh, God, yeah.
God damn it.
That's a good point. I haven't checked those in a very long time. I'm starting to run relatively low on drive space on one of my machines again. Constant battle. Struggle is real.
Yes, I mean, that's my classic problem of thinking that I was going to be clever and make a petition and then...
Don't partition drives.
I mean, it's
not worth it anymore.
You don't need to now.
Yeah. Since the dawn of SSDs in particular,
yeah. Well, yes, obviously you don't need to partition an SSD.
Yeah, it's totally pointless.
But, way back when I first got the PC and it was like, okay, I'm going to specifically go and look up, like, how much space is Windows 7 likely to take up, and then, like, double that, and then add a bit more. But it's still not enough. It's still constantly full.
Your C drive is important. It's like Windows still kind of treats the C as like, this is the only drive you're ever going to need, right? Yeah.
And then other programs try and do that as well.
Yeah.
That's why I had to do that stupid file, like, path linkage to get Eve to not install in there.
Right. Oh, God, you went down a link. Okay.
Yeah.
Fun times.
So I'm obviously not going to do that on the next PC, but it'll be an SSD at that point, so obviously not. Problem solved.
Yeah. Well, probably more than an SSD. It'll probably be a nice NVMe drive.
Well, yeah, probably.
All that good stuff. I haven't seen much of that solid state revolution in PC world.
Yeah, Microsoft are gonna do it, right? They need some time to like compete with Intel and shit, but they'll definitely get there.
Yeah, it's taking a while.
Yeah, I mean, they had such a head start, like getting that.
I don't know. Microsoft had didn't they sort of nail this 3 years ago when they made the Xbox? Like, it's like
the Xbox is like
it's like an SoC system, right?
It's an SoC, but it's x86.
Yeah, sure.
And it's
I mean, I don't need like ARM
it's AMD,
shit.
isn't it? Is it?
Yeah.
It's AMD, yeah.
Just make one of those. You know, I thought the whole.
I see what you mean. But the big advantage is it's ARM, right? And it's of the SoC, the Apple SoC, right? So
right. I guess. Yeah.
And that will be interesting whether the next consoles are ARM. I mean, obviously, we're miles away from that.
Yeah, hard to know at this point.
But I wouldn't be surprised if consumer machines are going to be ARM before the freaking consoles are. Yeah,
difficult. Difficult.
I mean, the Switch is ARM, obviously, but
yeah. But as I say, that whole thing hasn't happened as fast as I was expecting it to. I guess, like since Apple.
Well, they're maintaining their advantage, aren't they?
Well, kind of. Yeah, I mean, compared to my PC, I've not exactly been overwhelmed by the performance of this M1 sat here.
No,
but,
it's a little bit smaller than that thing.
Sure, but it was like on paper, it's supposed to blow my old PC out of the water, and it doesn't.
Is it a Pro?
It's an M1 Pro.
Right,
yeah, not an M1 Max or any of that nonsense. Mac Mini for those listening. There's a little Mac Mini I use for work on the desk that I've unofficially experimented with, with non-work jobs. Just to see. I had to know, but it performs about the same as my God knows how many years old PC.
Yeah.
It's pretty much like for like as well.
Interesting.
It's just,
Have you ever heard the fan come on?
I haven't.
It's amazing.
I have never heard it.
Completely passively cool.
Yeah.
Matches your giant monster piece.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll give it that. I have never heard it make a noise.
It's amazing.
Other than the when it starts.
Yeah.
Which they still
I love
do.
that sound. Yeah. They keep that. I like that.
Is there actually any option anywhere to turn that off?
I don't know, but it's very reassuring.
Or make it a stupid sound effect.
Oh yes.
Windows classics.
It's pizza time.
Yeah.
I forget what I was trying to remember what the last time my computer made a stupid noise, what I had, but I don't remember.
God. I mean, I used to mess with that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I honestly can't remember any of it.
Yeah.
I think we used the
my
games.
My favourite was you cut out that Destiny's Child thing, so every time there was a query prompt, it would go question. So good.
That was pretty. I quite like that one. I don't know that Windows actually separates out those categories particularly anymore. Like most dialogues wouldn't register as whether it's a question versus an exclamation like it used to. But question was a good one. I remember we used to use the Games Factory one from I forget what the file name was called, but it was Pencil 56 or something. So whenever a program error occurred, it would go die.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's such a weird one. Horaholia.
Yeah, who pukes like that? Horaholia. Games Factory Library. Some timeless classics in there.
Indeed.
Maybe we should just do the video on that at some point. Just go through that library and be like,
play every sound effect.
These are the sound effects of our youth.
Yeah.
Look up the graphics libraries as well. Look at all these Pac-Men. Or Euroman.
There was just one, wasn't there? There was one Euroman, and that we then changed its color many, many times for our own games.
And some ghosts. We never used. Because then that would be too obvious.
Oh, that's too obvious, yeah. I mean, that's interesting if they put that as one of the library, because, imagine trying to actually remake Pac-Man inside Games Factory. That would be hard. That would be almost impossible.
Yeah, you'd constantly get stuck half in the wall, or a pixel in the wall.
I'd be very impressed if anyone took those things and made a Pac-Man clone with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Pac-Man's a very apart from the movements within the lanes, it's like the lanes are quite fixed, right? It's like, but the problem is, Games Factory would let you probably move that tiny bit vertically within the lanes.
Pixel off, like,
I mean, first of all, you wouldn't use any of the movements, and you'd do everything.
You'd have to have a custom movement.
Yeah, but still,
Games Factory. It's probably the reason that 2 of the 3 of us are actually in computing. Let's be honest.
Probably, yeah. Like I said when we made the video, like I never really thought that was real programming because it didn't look like a mono-spaced font thingy. But like it definitely was.
I mean, yeah, it's not. It's programming. It's just abstracted in like it's a different way of viewing it.
But that's what I mean. High level programming is just abstracted.
Yeah, a lot of game programming is like someone has some traditional programmer has done the work to write the rules that are then loaded into a scripting language.
Yeah, exactly.
That looks more like the Games Factory than you think.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just basically a script kiddie, basically.
It's just that the advantage of actually writing a game in code means you can define what those events were.
Yeah.
And so the limited set of events that the Games Factory offered isn't your hurdle anymore.
Because I just think now, how it's like at first you think about, junior programmers think about algorithms, and then when you level up, you start thinking about the data structure as the primary thing to drive things and stuff. And the state is more important and the way that's structured to get right, and then the algorithms can flow from there. But like, some of the state in some of our games, if you just think about it, is somewhat complex.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We were pushing some of the limitations of that of what those tools could do for sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
I know even from the start, we were all about stick a numbered counter on the screens and then just use that.
Yeah,
we did proper debug.
Yeah,
really. That's. I mean, there's still projects I do where I do that. Like today, I will put count. I mean, Rocket League has those, and anyone can use them, right?
Yeah,
like you can just put counters on screen and see what's going on.
Yeah. That was another thing from from playing Minecraft. Over time, their debug screen has maybe got a bit out of control. Like you press F3 and the entire screen is just text, text and counters. And it's just like, I don't even know what half of this actually means. And then you can tab to like a whole nother page.
Excellent,
nice.
I like me some tabs.
Yeah, it's a little bit much.
I like me some stats.
It's a little bit much when
stats
all
for
you're
nerds, as YouTube calls it.
Yeah,
stats for nerds.
It's a little bit much in Minecraft when all you're trying to do is like cheat. To see see your XY coordinates or whatever.
I see.
It's like we're in this huge pile of text. It's just that tiny bit of information that I actually need.
So City Skylines.
Yeah.
A plug for our Collision software videos.
Yeah.
If you want to better understand what the hell we were just talking about.
Well, sort of.
Or at least the output from what we were talking
the
about.
output end.
Yeah.
You probably will see several on-screen number counters going on because we were very bad at clearing that up.
Well, yeah, and also I think a slight bit of me thought they looked cool.
Well, I think Rob especially was very enthusiastic about.
I have no style. I have no sense of style. Let's be clear about that.
You were 13, you didn't. That's fine.
I mean, in Rob's case, it was almost a like. I'm pretty sure you said at one point, maybe not in the video or maybe another time when we were talking about it, but like for Pack Beam specifically, it was like the trick here is to see if you can figure out what the numbers mean because there's just a bunch of numbers. It's like
I can't. Yeah, I don't think I could remember what they meant. That was my get out of that.
The Pat Beam menu screen was stylish.
Pack Beam.
I mean, it was not accessible because you couldn't read it, but
it was. Let's say it was a style.
It was a style. Yeah.
Well, yes,
which is in
Rob
fairness
definitely had a style.
I don't know. No. Having a style is an improvement over the multitude of styles I would normally.
But you had
throw
a
in.
style, which is whatever random Photoshop filter you felt like using at the time. That is a style.
Paint Shop Pro.
Yeah, not even Photoshop at that point. Oh man. Counter-Strike 2, anyone?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
The brazenness of calling it Counter-Strike 2.
Well, that's not confirmed.
Well,
that's
sure.
that's what the
Project
executable name is. Yeah, CS2.
Tell me what this is about.
I mean, it's about Counter-Strike 2.
It's a leak, and the
CS:GO is too old.
It's going to be on the new Source engine, right? But whether it's a fully new game, but it seems to be sources confirmed.
I mean, let's
It's a
be
thing.
honest. Like,
I mean, what else are Valve going to use?
well, yes, and also, like, is it going to be a fully new game? Well, probably it's going to be like substantially the same game.
I mean, if you
Because
consider
it's Counter-Strike, there's
CS:GO
going to be
a
Dust
new
2.
game, yeah.
That's all you need.
I mean, what is it? There's Counter-Strike Classic, Counter-Strike Source, Counter-Strike Go, and this is like a new one, right? In that line.
Right? Well, what was the other one?
Condition
1.6.
0.
Condition Zero,
Oh,
yeah.
But
The
CS
console
1.6
one.
was the final evolution, wasn't it, of original Counter-Strike?
Yes, before they
Sure.
changed to the new Counter-Strike.
Yeah, but Counter-Strike Go is like different enough from Counter-Strike Source to be like considered like a new game.
I mean, it was one of the first that,
Yeah.
that really pushed its esports features,
Mm.
right, and added a level of polish that Counter Strike had never had up to that point.
Yes.
I mean,
and
it's still ultimately Counter Strike,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
and,
it will
and very
always
little
be.
about its core is all that different.
Yeah.
And like that at that point they started trimming out the extra stuff in old Counter-Strike that no one ever actually used.
Yeah.
Like hostage mode, that went away mostly.
They still have the riot shield in.
Yeah, I think the shield is still in.
It's dumb.
No, is it?
Yeah,
no,
I don't think I've ever seen it, but that
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean it's not in.
Yeah.
It's just meta that no one buys it if
Yeah.
it is still in.
But yeah,
Is hostage mode even a thing in Go?
Not that I've ever played. It might be in like the. It's not in the competitive mode.
Well, no, but like, does it exist at all?
I don't know that it does.
Because no one played hostage. No one played.
What?
There was that other mode that wasn't the third mode of Counter Strike.
So no one ever played Office, you mean?
Well,
So it's like
Office
the
wasn't the only hostage level. In fact, that's not even the one that I remember the most. The one I remember the most is the warehouse.
The warehouse. Oh, yeah,
You had
the
to climb out that
warehouse.
giant ladder.
The one where the hostages didn't ever matter because that map never ended with anything with the hostages happening. Everyone even died, or hostages just got shot in the crossfire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was so hard.
So yeah,
I mean, I guess it's time.
yeah, it'd be good if
I mean,
that.
but CS:GO is still hugely
sure.
popular. But I guess
That's why you make a new one.
do Valve? What's? I mean, do Valve need to make a new one though? Because like, surely they make all their money off loot boxes.
They don't
Well,
need to do it,
they can just continue doing that in the new game. In
Yeah.
fact, they can sell you all the things that you don't have any longer.
Yeah, because it won't carry over, will it?
No.
They'll do a brand new, and it's like, well, we're starting this loop again, yo.
Yep. Open some more crates, get some more knives.
Get some more knives. Sell them on Steam Marketplace.
Oh,
Do you reckon it will still have full Steam Marketplace integration like
I don't
CS:GO
know.
does?
It's hard to tell what like the actual opinion of like Valve is about the whole Steam backend, like the inventory and all of that stuff.
Could it have a console release? I mean, obviously separated servers and stuff, but
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Sure. I mean, yeah, it would have to be separated. 'Cause,
yeah,
Well, it wouldn't have to be, but yes.
I mean, maybe. I mean, it's true that you occasionally do get a Call of Duty like pro player who is a controller user taking on the PC players. But
I mean, like technically, I believe like Age of Empires isn't separated between the
Right.
console and PC versions.
I mean, sure,
and
I
that's
mean,
a game. That,
I mean, if you're good enough to do it on a controller and you want to do it, then sure, go for it.
all units.
yeah, probably. Probably a lot of that.
So stupid.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, so when's Team Fortress 3?
Yeah, no, that's not happening.
Well, that's,
I mean,
I highly
it's the
doubt that will
progenitor
ever
of
happen.
CS:GO's success, you could argue.
See, the
Yeah.
advantage of this is that despite there being so many versions of Counter-Strike, the number is only 2, so Valve can do it.
Oh, yeah, that is true. Of course. Can't make Team Fortress 3.
Yeah, they can't count to 3. So
yeah, but that means this will be the last Counter-Strike game.
Yeah.
yeah, but that's okay. It'll last another 20 years. Though.
I mean, do we count Half-Life Alyx as a Half-Life game?
Yes, but it's not Half-Life 3. So.
Yeah.
Well,
Although
because it's a
it kind of
prequel,
is. Yeah.
I guess. It's technically a Half-Life 0.
Yeah.
Like Counter-Strike 0.
And that's the news.
I guess.
Yeah.
News in the news.
Starfield has a release date this year. Yay.
Still coming out this year. It's just not first half of this year.
No.
Like was originally planned.
No.
Actually, not originally planned, but
yeah, I still find it ridiculous how hardcore they went in that original announcement where like they made this whole video where the date is baked into the video.
Yeah.
And then it didn't hit that, and then it didn't hit this one either.
I mean, they had it's 2 years ago now that they had that. Was it because it wasn't last year? Was it last year that we saw the Starfield blowout and they showed the footage of it, or was it the year before? Feels like it's been ages since we last saw that game.
I think they showed.
Yeah.
Because the date would have been like November last year, and I think that was about the time when they showed when they were like, "We are actually still working on this. Just we've had to delay it, but here's some actual information."
Because they did that sort of Todd Howard on stage dive, didn't they?
Yes, but yeah, it definitely that 2 years ago or whenever that was video which had the original date. It just no.
I mean that tease, yeah.
Yes.
Right. What have you been playing? Robert Kemp.
Me? I finished Yakuza.
Oh, good.
Yakuza 5. I wrapped up the story for that. It did not stick the landing. Like I was sort of like right on the cusp of finishing it last podcast.
Yes, you were in chapter finale.
I was in finale final chapter.
Oh, okay.
Which was the final chapter.
Oh, it was actually true.
Yeah.
There wasn't extra finale. Was there an epilogue chapter, though?
There wasn't, no.
Oh.
It just sort of ended. And not in a particularly, I don't know, like I was sort of saying that like that finale chapter was trying to bring everything together and it wasn't doing it particularly well. And it was just doing things that just made me go, why the bloody hell is anyone doing any of this? And the final boss guy was a total left field pick of like someone you meet right at the start of the game. And it's like, oh, okay. And you're not actually the one behind all of this, but you're the final boss. We're just fighting you just because. All right then, let's do this. It didn't really make sense, is what I'm trying to say. Like the storyline ended up making very little sense, and it was a bit of a letdown. It wasn't even just stupid enough, right? It wasn't even dumb enough. It was just lame. And I demand more goof. However, maybe the achievement total is lying to me, but or something else is like. But it seems like I've either done more of Yakuza 5 than I did of Yakuza 4, despite the fact I'm not sure I like this one as much. I definitely haven't engaged with nearly as much of the available side stuff that there is in this. It's like I haven't gambled or I haven't done half of the normal mini games that exist in this. I don't think I've bowled. For instance, it's like this is the first Yakuza game where I haven't done bowling, maybe. But it looks like I've actually achieved a whole lot more this time around. Like I think I may have completed most of this. I've done nearly all of the character sub stories, which is not the same as playing like the mini game stuff. But it's just got some really confusing things. It's like as you're like when you're introduced to the characters and you're like walking around and you're like fighting people in the street as you do every 2 seconds.
Yep.
Like some of the people you encounter, it marks as Victory Road qualifying events, and those are basically like dudes you're fighting for some underground competition that you have been enlisted in against your will.
Not Pokemon battles.
No.
Victory Road.
Victory Road. Victory qualifiers. But like, I don't know what the fuck that is. Because it's like, presumably I've now got to go to the Colosseum after I've finished the game to go do Colosseum fights and finish off whatever this Victory Road storyline is. And do I have to do it with all 4 characters? I'm not sure I do, because they don't count as sub-stories for those characters in the completion list, because I've finished all of a couple of characters' stuff. It's just like, that's just weird. Like, why introduce that to me and then not at least introduce me to how to finish that off? I'm having to guess that it's pretty obvious that it'll be at the Colosseum, but like, I'm having to guess that that's a thing. It's just odd. And I think that's sort of this game's problem all over. It's like it doesn't feel as well thought through as some of the other Yakuza games. I did find I did go back and do like, because I noticed I hadn't got the achievement for doing a training mission with all of the quote unquote masters. So So for Kiryu, that's normally go train with the Komaki, learn the Komaki form. But in Saijima's case, he stuck up a mountain for half of his story. So there's who's there? Oh, there's a guy you can give offerings to, and he can speak to the gods of the mountain. And it's like, as it turns out, no, he gets possessed by the gods of the mountain and starts hovering around whilst summoning metallic guys from the floor to fight you. And that's how Saijima trains up some of his abilities. It's like, okay, I found some goof. I'm happy. Didn't make any sense, but I was quite happy with that. Yakuza 5. I think I stand by my point. It's probably the weakest I've played so far overall. But weirdly, I feel the most drawn. I feel more drawn to it than I think I did Yakuza 4. I've gone back to it having finished it, which is, saying something with me. Normally, I get to the end credits of a game and I have a hard time picking it up again. Because, interestingly enough, that has sort of happened to me with Hi-Fi Rush.
Really?
As much as I love that game, I finished it and I haven't really gone back to it all that much. Even though there's plenty of stuff I haven't done and there's the challenge rooms I haven't done and things like that. I just haven't gone back in. And shame on me, I suppose. But
no.
I mean, that's a dangerous one to fall out of skill on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So maybe my easy mode run actually makes sense.
Yeah.
I can go through it all again in easy mode and not actually feel too bad at it, and then do my normal mode run, and then do the hard mode run, which I've already done. Stupid achievements. Yeah. Anyway, that's where I'm at. I continued my trip down Wipeout Lane. And I've been playing a lot more of those. I've got a bit more to say about Wipeout Fusion.
I don't think that counts as saying something. So the viewer, I've got a bit more of a noise to make about Wipeout Fusion.
Yeah, I think, okay. Things I didn't really talk about last time. A key difference in that game from the previous Wipeouts is that that no other Wipeout I think did since. Maybe that Vita one, is the idea that you go off track every now and then. There's bits that aren't on a metallic chevroned circuit like Wipeout normally is. You go off road, and those are the weakest part of the game. They do kind of suck. Okay. And it's I can understand why they didn't go back to them. And that's sort of in part because of their design, because sometimes you're traveling at really quick speeds and there's just bits of rock and formations here and there. And if you hit them, sometimes you just stop and you're stuck behind a wall of something. And then you're having in a very un-wipeouty kind of way, you're having to try and bump your way out from around this nodule to try and actually get back going, and you lose so much. It's a ridiculous penalty amount of time, if that happens to you. And I can sort of get what they were going for. You lose grip on those surfaces, so the cars are much more floaty and harder to actually get where you want to go. So if you're trying to maintain the flow of racing, it requires a little bit of thought to pick out. But they don't work if you mess that up. And if you're playing a track or encountering a track for the first time, very, very easy to mess up. And on one of the circuits in particular, there is basically just a little notch you can just sort of get stuck in, like a dead end. And there's no way to manually reset your ship. So you're then stuck in turning around and trying to get yourself out of it. It's just bad track design. Some of the tracks in this game are real stinkers. A lot of them are great. A lot of them are fine. But it's about a third ratio. Right. Good, okay, stinker.
That's what I was saying is true of Star Trek, the original series, and the Next Generation.
Right, yeah.
Good, really good, okay, stinker. It's one third each.
Wasn't there oh, was it good, really good, or stinker? I thought you added a fourth thing in there. It's a third.
It's 1/3 each, yeah.
Okay, misheard. Yeah, so it's a bit like that, and they try and mix things up a little bit. And it's the courses aren't here's the course at this venue. It's here's the course at the venue. Here's 6 areas, and each area has 3 ribbons on it, right? It does that thing where there's like a short, medium, and long track in each area. And generally all the stinkers seem to be in the same area. It's like, I don't know, there's something about the design of these areas that sucks. So they're doing, it gives them a lot of tracks, I suppose, without having to worry about environment too much. But it does mean the tracks are a little less standout on their own, as you might expect, I guess. But it also means they have to do like little awkward things by like, where the track would normally fork off, we've put an electric barrier to be there. And when you're playing the track for the first time, those aren't always super easy to see, or the track signage around, like, it's like, oh, I know this bit of track, I need to turn to the right, and it's like, oh no, I don't, there's a big old wall there now.
Oh.
And I think they needed to do potentially a better job at like signposting that, and the wall, those electro walls can sometimes be a bit glitchy when you hit them as well. It's like, I don't just bounce off them like you would any other wall. Like sometimes I've just had them like turn me 180, so I've hit them and just been facing the wrong way after it. It comes back to what I think I said last time. It's like, I think Fusion might be the glitchiest Wipeout game I've ever played. It's like, it's not as polished as the others. Just things can happen. Like, I can just suddenly turn around on the spot, like, because something in the physics is messed up. And there's nobody around me, so it's not like I got hit by a weapon or anything like that caused it. Which I might believe with like their design for the proton cannon now. So it's a cannon-like weapon, which was in some of the ones from subsequent Wipeouts, but it has a tendency to cause a rotation on your ship now, as opposed to just doing damage. And like I could believe it if something went a bit funky with that and it just turned me all the way around. But yeah, that's not what's happening. Sometimes it can just happen. And I've mentioned before, the jumps feel weird and the cars don't feel Wipeout floaty. They feel a bit more grounded, a bit more stuff. But there are some things that they've changed where I think it works in their favor. Like the track designs, because things are quite fast in Fusion, and the lateral drift, I suppose, is probably a bit more than it was in previous Wipeout games. They somewhat smartly made the tracks considerably wider than they usually are. So the amount of track space you get is quite good. It also reduces the what is a fairly common Wipeout problem, which is like, it's when you hit them with a weapon, when you hit your opponents with a weapon, right, and they stop, then most of the time you just run into the back of them, right?
Yeah.
It's quite a common Wipeout problem,
classic,
and it's like, and that's much less of an issue here.
Right. That's good.
It's also, I didn't realize this, but I thought Wipeout Pure introduced zone mode. Oh
Yeah,
no,
so did I.
Wipeout Fusion has zone mode.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's an unlockable. And it's limited to certain circuits, and it's not quite the same. It's more of a high score challenge rather than a get to a certain speed challenge.
Yeah.
But it's there, and it's so it introduced,
cool.
And it's not as funked up as it was in
white and awesome looking.
As in future games. But that idea came from Fusion. Oh, and it also doesn't like speed class anything anymore. You upgrade your ship. You spend money you earn from doing championship races to upgrade your ships. So the game naturally gets faster, I suppose, as you're upgrading your ships. But I don't know if that's
quite.
I don't know if it's scaling it, right? So if I'd like use a ship I've never upgraded, does it scale the rest of the other ships back to the challenge I'm doing? Like how does that work? And it makes that super unclear. Doesn't clarify at all. So I don't quite know how that system's really working. But I guess like you could just pick the craft you like and then just spend all your money on that to upgrade it, and then don't worry about it. And the ship designs kind of universally aren't as good. I think I mentioned that before.
Sure.
Physar still remains the nicest looking ship. Which is probably true of most of the Wipeouts, honestly.
Well, yeah. Got like an Akamai.
Asagai.
Asagai. Sorry. Akamai's the CDN. Asagai.
I think Asagai's only in Pure onwards as well.
Yeah.
So for Wipeout Fusion, I'm still kind of enjoying it. It's but its flaws are definitely becoming slightly more apparent, and it's
for sure. Yeah.
Oh, and they swapped how the voices work. You know, like how Wipeout normally tells you what weapon is coming with a voice chant. It's like, no, the voice now reads what you pick up.
Oh, that's no good.
It's like it's just wrong, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like
I could be a warning, like missile.
Yeah, I mean the warnings now suck because you basically get it doesn't like if you get a missile lock, it just plays an incredibly loud sort of noise,
annoying.
Loud enough that it makes my audio clip.
Evidently.
And like occasionally there'll be like another voice that says warning incoming or something, and it's like, well, what's incoming? It's like that's that side of the design. The sound design's not quite as good. Which segues me nicely into the other Wipeout game I've experienced for the first time, which is Wipeout 1. The very first one. I hadn't played it before.
On the PlayStation.
On the PlayStation 1, yeah. So I've played that. That game feels unfinished.
Well, yeah.
It's
I feel like Wipeout 2097 or whatever it is that game finished.
They nailed the formula by 2097, like, or Wipeout XL. But the first game, it's weird. Like it's mostly there. Like the crafts feel Wipeout-y. Okay, the collision model isn't quite there yet. Like, you know, especially there's no scraping the walls, for instance. It's just always a stop.
You stop, right?
Or there's no okay. Yeah, there is no shield. There is no energy levels in Wipeout 1. You can't die.
Right.
Another change in Wipeout Fusion. Dying is very easy in Wipeout Fusion. Your shield is very low, at least until you upgrade it. You have to use those pit lanes, so there's no pit lanes. There's no actual lasting damage when you get hit by weapons. The weapon set is much smaller, as you might expect. I guess you've still got mines, rockets, and missiles. There's no Quake. Quake hasn't been introduced yet.
That's such a cool effect, Quake.
Quake is great, and they didn't get that right in Fusion either. It looks less good there. Yeah. But it's weapons are weirdly quiet. They're like, if you get hit by something, there is no noise at all.
Weird.
And the screen just shakes and you slow down. But at least you've got the robot voice guy shouting that there's a missile coming. So I guess you sort of know you've been hit by something, but it's like there's no real noise to it. And the craft are very quiet in their engine noises. The audio design just feels incredibly like is this actually working right? Kind of like it's so sparse. Track design is generally pretty good though. I will give them that. And like there's only 6 tracks in the game, but they're quite unique. To the point where but they're weirdly inconsistent like in how they handle. Like I would say the weirdest thing about Wipeout 1 is how the boost pads work on the very last track compared to every other track in the game. They are super effective on, I think it's called Slipstream, the last track. And they have way more of an impact on your craft's momentum than they do on any other level. And it's weird. It's just so I got to that point the first time I was playing through the Venom Championship and just okay, I'm gonna have to relearn how to drive for this specific track because it's just I have to actually use the boost pads and know that they're going to push my ship in a certain way, way more than you have to worry about in any of the other tracks. It's strange. I also don't think Designers Republic really nailed the aesthetic yet. It looks. I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to how to describe it. Like the loading screen in particular is like a mess of like very early 90s graphics, shall we say? Like it's like a CG render of like some text on a thing and the previews of the track layout, and it's very messy. Like it's not as clean and beautiful as you really expect from a Wipeout game. As much as the original box art is, right? It doesn't look anything like its actual box art. It's like it's kind of it's weird. Like they hadn't nailed that look yet, at least not in the game. Something they also fixed by 2097. I mean, it's got Chemical Brothers on the soundtrack though, you know. So it's
still got that at least.
Yeah,
that cachet, yeah.
and a bit of Left Field and Orbital. I think they're the 3 names on this soundtrack. The rest of it is Cold Storage's. Classic stuff, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed it. Like, I've only. It's a lot harder than I'd say Wipeout got, especially like in the Venom class. Like, and as far as I can tell, it only has Venom and Rapier, and Rapier is next to impossible, and you have to unlock it by doing a good run through the championship. And that's really, really hard. Mostly because like the enemies or the enemy AI will just bump you into walls,
and then you stop.
Yeah. It's a nightmare, but I'm glad I played it because it's fascinating that actually Wipeout was allowed to progress in the state of that first game in a strange way. Like it's like I guess it must have done pretty well.
The games were just like that then.
Yeah, I mean it's weird. It's like
what games are always jank and unfinished.
What did it have? Well, I don't know. You put it next to like original Ridge Racer, right? Okay, original Ridge Racer is arguably only 2 tracks.
Yep, and
a car. Like I don't know if it's got any more than that one car, but boy, is that original Ridge Racer a polished experience, right? It's sure it looks like a PlayStation 1 game, and they hadn't quite mastered the hardware at that point, but Ridge 1 and Ridge Rev and Rage Racer, like that followed from it, they are super polished experiences, and it's they got that right from the start.
Proper arcade experience.
Yeah, and the original Wipeout is quite a bit rough edged. But yeah, I'm glad I checked that out. Been playing that on my. I've been playing it on I say original hardware. I said that last time. I've been playing it on my PS2, doing PS1.
But you've got an old PS2 that has a PS1 in it, right?
I've got the first edition PS2. You know, the fat PS2.
But it has hardware.
It has the PlayStation 1 hardware in it. Yeah. And I'm also using my OSSC, which originally was getting PlayStation 1 stuff wrong. It was making it too big because it turns out the PAL PlayStation puts out a super weird signal, like a non-standard signal that old TVs just dealt with somehow. Don't quite know how, but when you convert it up to HDMI like that, because I'm using the OSSC, which is just a line doubler, the signal it put out was either a stupid res or, in my case, would crop the screen on the top and bottom. So I'd actually have too much of a zoomed in view and would lose some screen.
Yeah.
Update your OSSC, guys. That fixes the problem. Like I hadn't done that since I got mine several years ago. And you'll need a micro SD card, and it's a little bit of a pain in the arse to actually do.
But it can be done.
And that has fixed it right up. And now my PS1 looks great. Top tip. Update your OSSC. But I'm not done yet with my retro rampage.
Great.
I have also been playing Star Fox 64 3D.
Of course.
Because I love Lilac Wars. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and it holds up pretty well today. But I haven't checked, so it's sort of a bit of a surprise and my own personal shame that I didn't check out what is actually like the remake, a proper remake of Star Fox 64, and that is Star Fox 64 3D.
What? When was that done?
This was made on the 3DS by Nintendo themselves.
Wow.
Actually handled by Q Games of, Meteo's fame.
I don't remember this.
It's a really good version of Star Fox. Like, it is just Star Fox 64. There's not very little in the way of bells and whistles going on here, but they did a full remake of this thing. So it's the same game, but with a beautiful lick of paint on it. It looks good. It plays good.
Does it use the 2 screens or?
No. Like the main, you don't really need the bottom screen. Like it will do like the if people talk like that, the gerp 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 gerp. I don't know if you can turn that on. Actually, I need to check whether I can put all the voices into Lilac, because I think they re-recorded all the voice work, but it's pretty similar to the original, so I'm happy. But yeah, I think when there's chats going on, it pops up on the bottom screen as opposed to on the main screen. And they had the N64 game had this frankly pointless mechanic where every now and then Rob would send you a message, but you had to press one of the C buttons to interact with it. and he'd send you a crate with a bomb onto the level. But you just tap the touchscreen. You just mash the keypad with your palm now, and then he'll send that in. Other than that, it's pretty much the same game. Apparently, like there are two modes, and that there's a 3DS mode and a N64 mode, and I've played through both. And apparently there's balance changes in the 3DS version and slight tweaks. I could not tell you what those are. It felt like the same game to me. In both playthroughs.
Presumably that doesn't affect the 3D in any way. No, that would be weird.
No, the look of the game is identical but like I thought it might be pretty rad if the N64 mode was we're gonna use the N64 graphics.
Well, yeah.
That would be pretty cool. But no, apparently it's a balance tweak.
Like the only thing I could have thought was if like I mean, it wouldn't be called this then, and it also wouldn't work like this. But like, if this had been like play it in the N64 mode when you're playing on a 2DS where you don't have the 3D,
right? Yeah. Well, you can just turn the 3D slider off for that, right? The 3DS and all that.
Well, yes, but that's what I mean. It's like it wouldn't be implemented as like a mode that you had to pick if you were playing on the 2DS.
Right. Yeah, that'd be weird. I think it's very good. Like, I can sort of understand why I didn't buy it at the time, because it is as good as Lilac Wars is, or Star Fox 64 is. That game is real short,
and it was probably way too expensive.
And it was probably Nintendo taxed to all hell. Yeah. Yes, but I picked it up for £8, so I'm quite, that's pretty reasonable to me. I'm going to play it way more than 8 times, so it's. So £1 per hour, I will do pretty well out of
this.
And
also, you're extracting some more value out of your 3DS.
My 3DS, yeah, my 3DS is getting used again, and that's
nice.
that's a good thing.
Maybe you play Bravely Default.
Boy, yeah, settle down for another. However, that game's long, though, isn't it?
Well, it's long if you want to try and do the whole thing.
Right.
If you just want to get through it once, rather than 8 times.
Or whatever that repeating bit is at the end.
Yes, that's what I mean. You only want to go through it once.
Wait, so that whole stuff is optional, is it? The whole repeating?
Well,
I thought that was core to the story.
It's like it's the difference between bad ending and true ending or whatever.
I see.
You can get to a ending.
Huh. Yeah, but now I know.
Well, the game does make it kind of obvious.
Okay. Is it one of those games that lets you like play the bad ending and then go, oh right, can I actually tweak that and go? Like,
I don't remember how I did
copy
it.
Your save.
I think I copied saves, but I don't remember how it actually would work if you just went. If it like leaves the save at a certain point or whatever.
Right. Yeah. So you can go back to it.
Probably.
I think that's how some of the old Final Fantasies did it. Right. They didn't make clear saves. They just left your last save where it was. Oh, that wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, Star Fox 64 3D. It's pretty sweet. It's making me happy anyway, but I'm biased because I love that first game. I've got one other thing for you. I'm not done yet. Hold on to your butts. It's not Pizza Tower.
No,
sorry. I'm so sorry. Like it's not Pizza Tower. I started playing Atomic Heart.
Okay.
Oh.
I don't think that game is very good.
Well, obviously.
Admittedly, I am only 2 hours into it.
Is this a Game Pass situation?
It's a Game Pass situation.
Of course.
Yeah. So, for those that don't know, Atomic Heart is basically Russian Bioshock, set in an alternate history in the 50s and 60s-ish, that kind of time. But Russia supposedly won World War II. And technology has gone.
To be fair,
yeah,
that's
also technically.
But they like won every I don't know. I think they did a Russia and like took over everything or something. I don't know.
That's basically Red Alert 2, right? That's what.
Yeah.
The end of World War II, and then Russia just kept going.
Well, no, because in that one,
just time travel,
right?
and they like get rid of
Hitler. So there's no Hitler. Yeah.
It's basically the same thing.
It doesn't really. I mean, it sort of touches on that kind of stuff, and there's some crossover of real events and not real events, and but I haven't been asked to follow it that well. Anyway, visually and how that game is designed, it's an interesting setup. Like the tech has gone weird in sort of Bioshocky expected, or Fallouty, I suppose, kind of ways, where everything's like hyper mechanical and there's robots and they can talk to you, but none of it's ever quite perfect and it's all a bit flaky, but it's got that lovely sort of 50s, like what they thought the future would look like aesthetic to it.
Retrofuturism,
yeah, retrofuturism, that's it. it's a pretty good look, honestly. Like, the game looks pretty and is designed visually pretty nicely. I just think it, like, the writing is dog shit.
Right.
Is some of the worst I think I've come across in a long time. And, like, I'm 2 hours in and I basically haven't got the all of the, a lot of people are like, a lot of reviews. I did the thing and read the reviews before I played it, which is probably not what you're supposed to do. But they sort of like come across and say like, oh, the combat's actually pretty good, and come to that. It's like, I haven't really. I'm too far into this game and I haven't really experienced much of anything. I'm just sort of wandering around corridors using my magnet hand to get stuff out of cabinets, whilst my sentient glove and my hyper annoying main character talk to each other. And that interaction, which I'm guessing is going to be what goes on throughout the entire game, is just the worst. It's like, I don't know why that your character, P3, he's got a proper name, I can't remember what it is, but he's referred to as Agent P3, just has a real problem with his glove and is just an arse to it the whole time. Like, the glove the sort of character that doesn't care what the glove is called, right? Like, and there's like, my name is Charles, and he's like, whatever. And like, it's like, God, you're so annoying, shut the fuck up. And it's like, it's just that all the time. Really bad. It's not even done in a funny way. It's just bad. And I don't know if that's just because I guess it was written in Russian originally and translated out. And apparently there is a option to have all the dialogue in Russian.
Back in Russian, yeah.
Which might be preferential because then I can ignore it. Maybe, but then I might lose what I'm actually supposed to be doing in conversation and stuff like that. It's, I don't know. I feel like I haven't given it enough of a shot yet because it feels like I haven't got to what people are praising about it, and the combat and the abilities and that sort of interaction and the way the world is eventually built up and stuff like that is apparently pretty good. And I also should point out, like, I'm saying all of this whilst trying to separate myself from the obvious controversy that surrounds this thing. It's a Russian developed game that has a bit of a yay Russia vibe about it.
Right. Not good timing for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I might give it one more shot. I might put a couple more hours into it, and it doesn't improve in that time. Like, I'm thinking of bouncing, and and for me, that's a rarity.
How many achievements have you got?
Like, none.
Oh, good.
I've got like a couple, so it's like, yeah, I'm definitely not going to hit that my 500 minimum point mark. But which in fairness, I didn't do on Yakuza 4 either. But
yeah, well, that's a different problem.
Yeah, that's size of game. Yeah, I might bounce off Atomic Heart. It's really not doing it for me, and it's the Altair problem primarily, right? Altair and what was that game? After Party or something, where if you don't like the protagonist,
oh right, yeah,
and he's a piece of shit, it's pretty hard to like the game. Very hard to like the game, whatever.
Just because that maybe that's okay in drama, like if it's like, I don't know, the Walter White or whatever. But if you are embodying that character, it's slightly different.
But he's not even a clever piece of shit. Like, he's only like one step removed from Duke Nukem piece of shit. You know.
Right.
It's...
Speaking of Duke Nukem, did you see the like British culture satire mod of Duke Nukem that's currently out?
No,
it's absolutely, I can't remember what it's called. It's absolutely, I've only seen a video of it. It's amazing. I will play it for you guys. Sorry,
not on
podcast listeners.
Yeah.
No, I won't play it, but I will try and look up what it's called while we maybe wrap up and switch over to what Zeg's playing.
Absolutely. I am done. I mean, we could talk about Dirg some more, but, I don't know what
that's the crossover, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what there is to say there. Dirg it has got its anniversary thing on.
Yeah.
Have some double XP, jump into some decorations in the...
and get glitched really weirdly by certain things.
It's called Duke Smoochum. Quite sure why.
Austin Powers.
But yeah, it's one of the most British things I've seen in a long time. I recommend. It's not done though, so it's
okay.
But so
work in
just
progress.
watch the video. Work in progress. So when it quote unquote when it's done, yeah, of course.
Nice.
Zachary Burgess, what have you been playing?
Yeah, we played some Derg, and I played some Derg, not super much, because as I said, like, I'm done with the grind for this season, and the anniversary is really, that double XP doesn't matter to me any longer.
Sure.
The double season XP. So yeah, we did a bit of that, and similarly, I played a bit of Rocket League, and I still succeeded in getting the whole season done.
Oh, did you?
In Rocket League.
Oh.
So I still haven't fallen out of that still. Next season's just started.
Oh yeah, I saw the image had changed. What is it this time? Is it like...
I don't know what the general theme is, but the map is like I don't remember what it's called. What is that map called? Deadeye Canyon Oasis? So it must be like a greenified version of that desert level.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know what the overall theme is. If there even is one, or whether they're just like...
It's just a stuff map.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've played some of that and finally got slightly out of Lemon Town. Marginally. Just a little bit. So, I mean, that'll help me hopefully get the 10 wins at the champion rank, and then I'll not have to care about that. Not like that ever is really the problem with the Rocket League grind. So is that I guess like
I'm not missing it. It has to be said, like, I'm not really missing Rocket League. Like, maybe it hasn't been long enough.
Yeah, maybe there'll be a time.
Yeah, I've broken the habit.
Yes, I mean, I haven't been playing it virtually at all. It was surprising that I made it to the end of the season. Yeah, really.
Virtually at all, and yet you still got to the end of the season. Something I used to struggle with.
I mean, it was pretty close this time. Like, I actually had to deliberately look at the past and see how much more I had to do, and be like, I do actually need to play this a little bit intentionally.
Yeah.
I didn't get the drops because.
Oh, what the special
the free
the free extra
things, because I was just like, I can't be asked to play 20 games of casual, so that one's off the table. And that was pretty much it. It's like, that's the problem with that the rocket. It's not really the rocket pass, is it? It's just is it related to the rocket pass? I guess it's in that menu.
You needed to get, you need three. You need to get all but three, usually, something of the free tier challenges. Yeah, over the course of the pass.
But then every time it's always like, well, there's the play in the tournament one, which I can't be bothered with.
Oh yeah, I never do that.
And then there's like play 20 matches in casual. Can't be fucking with that. That's far too many. I'd do that if it wasn't like 20. And then there's like play 3 rounds in extra modes. I could have done that, but I just didn't. Because I knew I wasn't going to get the other ones. Yeah.
Just 3, and you didn't play any hockey.
I was going to if I wasn't going to miss out on this anyway, because I wasn't doing the other ones. Like, that's an easy one I could have just gotten done.
Yeah.
And then there's like...
You didn't play any over that entire time? No drop shot?
Well, it's the last segment. It was the last of the 4.
So it had to be in the last month?
Yes. It only just appeared or whatever in this last segment. And then there was also... This season, there was also one for, like, play some number of competitive duels. And I was like, I don't play Rocket League 1v1.
No, that's kind of sucks. Yeah, I don't like that.
That's where the bots are, probably.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know what the bot situation is. I haven't heard anything about it since that server patch that temporarily broke everything.
Right, the bot again.
Yeah, haven't heard anything about bots, really, since then. So maybe it worked. Maybe the bots were eliminated. Maybe. Yeah, I haven't really played anything new or anything that interesting in the games we haven't played. Like, I mentioned Minecraft again. That's still been happening a bit more. That's just continuing to be Minecraft. And then the weird mic fuck-ups, weird Discord problems. And I played some more Captain of Industry, but I finally started getting over the big hurdle of the microchip age. It's just like, I'm just going to try and build all of these parts that I need simultaneously. And the microchips are like annoyingly realistic, where it's like you have the chip maker machine and like the silicon thing, which makes the silicon wafers. That's fine. Like you just put the silicon in and it makes the silicon wafers. But then in the microchip machine, it has like a 3-step process of building up the chips where it's like, I forget which order it's in. It's like, first it's like plastic, copper, and water. Then it's like acid, and then it's like gold. But then you do that like 3 times. So you do like, it's like a 9-step process where you have to build up the chips in like multi-layers before it actually comes out as chips. And so you either have to build a ridiculously huge number of buildings, or you have to like loop the thing back in. So like it does the first step, and then it outputs that, and then you loop the belt back into it, and then it reuses that thing for the next step.
Weird.
So you have to filter the belt output to like only output finished microchips, and all the other stuff just gets shunted back in. Which is, I mean, that means you can do it with one building, but that also means it's insanely slow.
Right, yeah.
Because this one building is doing 9 buildings worth of work, essentially. But then you can't really actually afford to make 9 copies of that building, because at this point, this is where your buildings are starting to use cloud computing power, which is like an actual resource you have.
Okay.
It's teraflops is the actual resource. But you have to build like a data center and then like put server racks in it, and then that determines how many teraflops you have available across the whole island.
Oh, wow.
To power all these fancy buildings. Which at the moment means that basically I can't even afford to like run enough to run all the buildings I actually have. Like basically the silicon, the wafer maker uses some, the microchip machine uses some, and then the research labs uses like a bunch. And I've only got one of my research labs upgraded to this stage as well. But that one research lab uses like 12 teraflops by itself. And then these other 2 buildings are 4, but I only have like 16. So if all the buildings turn on at the same time, then like the research lab shuts off just to prioritize making the chips. Because they can't all run at the same time, because I just don't have enough servers to run that much.
Teraflops are we at now in GPUs now? Is it like...
I don't know.
I mean, like some like incredibly high number already, like 20 or something.
Really? Wow.
I remember the last time that was like an old school E3. Not even now. It was relatively new old.
It was when they were talking
E3.
about the Series X, wasn't it, or something, or like the consoles? They were talking about the teraflops.
Yep. But yeah, that's the point where, because the trouble is, so the big problem that was preventing me from making this step with the microchips is that like, it's not just that you have to build a lot of buildings, it's that everything is like linked into itself. So like, in order to run the microchip machine to make the microchips, you need the teraflops, so you need the data center. But then the data center needs like tier 3 maintenance, which uses microchips. So in order to make the microchips, you have to have microchips in order to run the machine that allows you to power the machine that runs the microchips. So the only way you can do that is that, I mean, obviously they thought of this, is like when you're exploring the map, you find a small amount of microchips before this stage of the game.
Right.
So you have like this basically time limit almost to get everything up and running. Or you can technically like do a really expensive trade with one of the neighboring cities or whatever to like trade gold for microchips, but obviously that's way less resource efficient than using your gold to make the microchips yourself.
Indeed, yeah.
But yeah, you do have to just have everything up and running simultaneously, essentially, at this point. So yeah, I did that. But then basically my only goal was to get enough teraflops to run this one lab so I can basically finish the tech tree. So my plan at the moment is to just finish all the research, and then I can basically disassemble all the labs, because that's all done. Get rid of all of that, free up those 12 teraflops and all the extra other resources that are being put into the labs.
So for reference, an Xbox Series X is apparently approximately 12 teraflops.
So this whole lab is running off one Xbox.
One Xbox. It would be cheaper for them just to buy that than to run a cloud lab, surely.
Probably. I mean, the data centers are cheap to run. Surprise in terms of like power, even.
Okay.
Like the amount of electricity they use is probably not realistic. You do have to put in like cooled water.
You have to cool them, yeah.
You have like, but even that's like super cheap, relatively speaking. You just like stick a cooler building next to it and just pipe the cooled water in, which is maybe like one of those situations where it's like, realistic, but in game terms, you're making this very specific resource that only has this one use. Like, this cooled water doesn't get used in any other place apart from the data centers, so it might as well not even be a separate building.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to get to the end of the tech tree. Also because I've looked ahead on the tech tree, like the tier 2 solar panels are not a direct upgrade from the tier 1 solar panels, which is really annoying. Because it's like I've already built a fairly large solar field, and then all those resources are basically going to go to waste when I want to upgrade them to tier 2. Because you can't... If I were to disassemble those old solar panels, you get like 90% of the parts back, so I'd get like 90% of the solar cells back.
Sure.
But solar cell 1 does not upgrade into solar cell 2. It's a completely different item.
I see. Different tech. Yeah. You don't disassemble them into the raw materials enough.
I think you can...
Can you disassemble the cells, or...?
No. I think you maybe can trade away solar cell 1s to one of the other towns, so I might still be able to get some value out of those, possibly. But I'm still with this all going on, I'm still in this situation where like I'm waiting for landfill to finish so I can build this nuclear power plant, because that's the other thing that I'm really waiting for. Like I'd like to build all these new fancy buildings that probably are going to use a whole shit ton of power. Like making silicon just uses a ton of power, the arc furnace. So that's why I'm still only sporadically making these chips in like a little trickle or whatever, because it's actually the power consumption that's the problem.
Right.
Which is then why I built this whole solar field of the original solar panels, because I was like, I can save on oil by offsetting some of the power use by just putting up solar panels using the silicon I'm making. But now I'm like, it's going to be too much if I try to run all of this at once, so I need to... And also one of my oil fields is relatively close to running out as well, because oil is definitely an actually limited resource.
Interesting.
One of my offshore oil fields, I should say.
Right.
Like actually, both the original oil fields on my island still exist. I haven't actually used them. They're like my emergency reserve oil, in case something real bad happens and like my cargo ships can't get staffed or something. I have my backup oil, because basically my whole power grid runs off this one oil plant, and if that goes down, everything's going to go to shit real quick.
Basically, the game's trying to teach you to invest in green.
Well, yeah. I mean, the solar panels are basically free. I mean, they have a maintenance cost, of course, because everything does. But it's actually real low. You wouldn't have, like, compared to the number of solar panels I've built, the actual maintenance cost is minuscule. So I'm like, oh yeah, at the time when I first got those, I was like, oh yeah, that's an obvious plan. Just build it. It's quite expensive in terms of making the silicon to make the solar cells. And quartz is a limited resource as well, I guess, but not nearly as close to running out as oil is on my map. But yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I will invest in some solar panels, but then I just need to get this nuclear thing up and running. And then when that's done, hopefully it will also free up a bunch of extra people, because I think I haven't counted it out to be like how many workers are running all the buildings that are in my oil power plant versus how many people am I going to need to run the nuclear version.
I see. Right.
But I think it's going to be a saving in that front as well. And then also running this nuclear power plant is going to so the oil processing makes fertilizer as a secondary output, basically. Like the sulfurous outputs of the oil distillation get converted into fertilizer, and then that goes into my farms. So when I shut down that power plant, I might have a problem with fertilizer. But then the nuclear one, as far as I can tell, because I've only looked at it through like the tooltips of the ghosts of the buildings, not actually running it yet. But I believe you can't really, it has to run at a certain output rather than fully manipulating the control. Like it can only output 5 megawatts worth of steam, or 10 megawatts worth of steam, or 50 megawatts worth of steam. It's not like a sliding scale like the oil boilers are, because the boilers just output steam until the pipe's full. Whereas in the nuclear power plant, you need to output that steam or it overheats.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so with that, I'm pretty sure you can just use all that, any excess steam, to basically just make free water by running it through a desalination plant and then getting a bunch of extra water that way. And then that will be a water saving for all my other stuff.
Can the steam generated by the nuclear power then be fed into a steam turbine to generate more power?
Well, yes, because that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
The power plant doesn't actually make the power. It makes steam.
It just makes steam.
And then the steam goes into the turbines. And then there's like a second layer of turbines.
Right, so the game actually splits it up to that level.
You'll be using the same turbines as in the oil plant.
I see.
Just attached to the steam output of the nuclear plant instead.
Gotcha.
And then there's like, you run the high temperature steam through one set of turbines, then there's a different type of turbine for low temperature steam.
Combined cycle, right?
Yeah. And then you get the depleted steam that you can then use in like vacuum desalination to extract a little bit of extra water.
But do you have to have a giant cooling tower to recover the water from the depleted steam? Or like a real power plant?
You can do that.
Right.
But that's what I'm thinking about now, is because like depleted steam, you usually run through the cooling tower and get a certain percentage of the water back and then loop it back into the system. But then late in the tech tree, you unlock vacuum desalination, where you can use depleted steam to desalinate seawater, and you actually end up with more water rather than less.
Ah, okay. When you're by the sea. Right?
Yeah. As this whole island is.
Yeah. Okay.
Help me out a little bit here. Why depleted steam?
It's basically like
just
cold,
like
cold steam.
not much energy left in it.
Okay, so it's
Mostly
just about
extracted.
still steam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You can't fully extract the energy from the steam. I mean, you can do it as much as you can, but
Yes. It's that's why this is vacuum desalination, I guess, because it's like, this is when it condenses, so it can pull some extra water out of the brine or whatever.
Makes sense.
I mean, that might take a lot more people, so I might not actually benefit in terms of labour force from deleting the oil power plant, but you get a shit ton of water. And my farms are kind of needing a lot more water. I'm definitely at the point where it's again, this is just me being an inconvenience for myself, where it's just like, my town is over here and it's got this nice line of farms that are supplying basically all the food except for a couple of other farms on the other side of the island, and those farms are pulling about as much water as the current system can handle. Like, it pulls groundwater and rainwater, and then there's a desalination plant in case that's not enough, and then there's a bunch more rainwater tanks on this other hill, and so the town and those farms are pulling about as much water as I can possibly manage at the moment.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to expand that. So I was like, I want to get this goddamn nuclear power plant done, and also, like, I also want to build more farms, because having more farms allows you to essentially collect rainwater, essentially, because the farms collect rainwater naturally themselves, and then when that runs out, then they start using the piped water, which can also come from rain collectors, but they're different, so they take up more space.
Right.
So I'm like, I want to build more farms, but unfortunately there's this goddamn copper mine in the way. So I need to mine all this copper out. So I've started basically putting I've finally given up on doing it realistically and just said, I'm just going to build a huge pile of storage silos and just mine the copper out into silos.
And just leave it there.
And just put it to the side.
Okay.
To free up the space.
I mean, no, not really, but yeah.
That's where, like, gameplay comes in, where it's just like, you could dig up the copper and physically dump it into the world, like as a pile, but it's more space efficient to put it into these silos because of magic.
Silos. Right, yeah, because magic, yeah.
Which is annoying.
Because they're silos of holding, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Imagine they're taller than they look.
Well, they look fucking pretty tall. If you look at these things in the game and then, like, try and look at the scale compared to a person, like, driving the trucks around, these are fucking gigantic ass silos that are somehow full of, like, rock.
Right, yeah. That's the weird part.
But yeah, that's still the situation with that. I'm not sure. I really don't know if I need to continue playing that at this point. I mean, I'd like to finish, but also, you know, the game's not running so good any longer, as is always the case with these games. You reach a certain point of the simulation,
you need to upgrade.
and it's doing too much stuff.
Yeah. Need more cores.
Yep.
Yeah. Get you a monster.
Get a Threadripper. The ultimate factory process.
I mean, that is what you need. Probably. Assuming it's compatible with that kind of calculation or whatever.
Yeah, massively parallel.
Yeah.
I think it would be. Well, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, parallelization is always the problem with games, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true.
Well, yeah.
And other programs.
Yeah.
All programs, in fact.
Very much.
And that's more or less all I've done. Nothing new, nothing even particularly interesting about the old games. I feel like this has been another one of those 2 weeks where I feel like I've done more than I have. Whereas what did I do this week? I don't remember, but apparently not as much as I thought.
I just watched some videos and I captained some industry and I mined
some copper and stuck it in some silos.
Yep.
Mined some Bismore.
Yep. Went into the Dergs.
Bismore.
Right. Well, we're coming out to time here.
Yep.
Getting there?
Yeah.
Not bad. Given I talked about so much retro nonsense this week.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Play that Wipeout.
Woo.
What have we got coming up
There's
video-wise?
another...
oh, God. Sonic Lost World. Wrap it up.
There's another Sonic Lost World video I haven't worked on yet. So that'll arrive when it arrives.
Come for the mediocre Sonic game. Stay for the what the hell is this weird Rubik's Cube thing going on at the end.
Yeah, say no more.
Yeah. Enjoy
Come
that.
for confusion, stay for confusion.
Stay for confusion. Yeah, but we had a good time. Kind of
it was pretty
taking
funny.
the mick out of it.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah,
it's in its own.
Check that out.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's good. Not every series can be a hit. It's got to be the occasional fun dad. So check that out on our YouTube channel, Happy Salad, and we'll be back with another Sadcast just like this one in a couple of weeks. So we'll catch you then, listeners.
Would it be just like this one?
Somewhat.
Are our podcasts ever that different?
I mean, they don't contain the same words.
So there's not going to be any E3s or anything for the...
Well, no. Well, maybe not. I mean, technically E3 is still happening this year, but it's not got Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo at it, so...
Yes, but not in next podcast. And no big games are coming out imminently.
No, and I guess everyone's done a direct now.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone's done with their videos for a few months.
Yeah.
We'll think of something else to talk about. More words coming your way. Woo! Next time. Catch you then. Goodbye.